And we're live, y'all.
All right.
Everyone, thank you for joining us. And if you're joining us, you truly are a fan of the Right Perspective podcast or a fan of This Is Us because we forgot to advertise that we were going live tonight. It's been a busy day. Oh,
Don't
God.
say we. That's not my department.
Oh, see, that's the other thing. The
He
roles
put
and
you under the
responsibilities.
bus. He put you under the
He
bus.
did. He did.
I wish I had
I
enough
failed.
production skills to like pull up a bus sound like honk honk.
I think
And
you're
then just have
doing
it
it right
rolling
then.
right over my face here.
I was after the nice little substitute.
Y'all couldn't just go with the we.
I think, yeah.
Y'all couldn't just go with the we.
Listen. Since he said it, I was just, wanting to put facts out there so we didn't have fake news.
Sure. That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. So this is us. Clearly, this is the Right Perspective. Thank you for joining us. We are a podcast that reviews television shows and movies that are considered classics, and we make an exception for This Is Us because we are sure that in the annals of time that This Is Us will be a classic, and so we're reviewing it in real time. And so thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to be discussing tonight's episode of This Is Us that just ended a few minutes ago. And but first, let's introduce ourselves. Kick us off, bro.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Wright, and I'm the oldest.
I'm Janiyah Wright. I'm the middle.
Hi, I'm Brittany Wright, and I'm the youngest.
Yay! So y'all.
Hey, Janiyah, where has the super awesome painting been? I'm just curious.
Actually, I sent it to the framers. Yeah, nice. It took me weeks to kind of pick a frame. And then once I finally picked one, I went to the framers, repicked a different one. And it actually should be ready next week.
All right, great. I miss it.
Yeah, y'all, we have an amazing painting that was actually inspired by our relationship. And check it out. We've been using it as a part of our promo graphics. So by the artist James Jorsling.
Yes. So, you guys, good. Rachel said, I'm so glad you decided to go live. Watching you guys after the show is like a warm, relaxing cup of hot chocolate before bed. That is needed for these episodes.
It really is. It really is. Can I just say?
Yeah, Rachel just jumped up a few levels in my head. She was already awesome, but now she's
Rachel has been with us.
Yes.
Bro, you just said the episode name, and I forgot it already.
It was One Small Step.
One Small Step. Episode 11.
Season 5, episode 11.
That's right. So that's what we're about to discuss, y'all. Thank you for joining us, Rachel. And y'all, can I tell you just something? I have to just say as a preface to this conversation. The audiobook I'm listening to right now is Tracy Morgan's book, the comedian Tracy Morgan. Mm-hmm. And I'm right at the beginning of it. And he's talking about his life. And guess what he was talking about? And what I listened to in my walk this evening, he was talking about the impact of Vietnam on his father. His father having been sent to Vietnam. And he just talked about how his father did 5 different tours. And he just said, you know what? He never recovered. He said his father just came back and never recovered and was fighting that war every day of his life after he returned. And he talks about some of the horrible stories the father shared. And there was one particular thing he said. He said, I have a 17-year-old son right now. At the time of the book was being read rather. He said, I have a 17-year-old son right now. And I think about my father being that age and being across the other side of the world, fighting a war that some would say wasn't meaningful and some would say ultimately wasn't successful. And so I was just thinking, my gosh, we don't, when we think about some of the cycles that are playing out in communities, we don't sometimes take it back to these kinds of things. But these things are playing out in families all the time, all the time. They're playing out at work in ways we don't even take into consideration.
It's so crazy that we live in a country that would say you can't drink alcohol until you're 21, but at the age of 17 you can sign up and possibly and hold a gun and die. It's so backwards and the dumbest thing ever.
Don't understand.
I don't get it. I literally don't understand it. It's stupid, actually.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's heartbreaking.
The effects of these things, because I used to work for the American Red Cross and I worked in the service to armed forces. And so I worked in 19 counties in Mississippi, and going and just seeing some of these, just the effects. There was a documentary, I think it's called Hidden Scars, where it's something you just can't avoid. PTSD and these different things and how it can become debilitating. And so they don't service the men and women well that come back from these horrible circumstances and situations. They're not surfaced the way they should be by the government that sent them.
Is Janara frozen?
She is. I was like, she's in deep thought. She's back.
I froze.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
Yeah, and I want to let you know that my internet connection is unstable, so this is just the beginning of the shenanigans that is to come. I am sure. But fortunately, since we're live streaming, y'all will be able to just keep going, and I'll try to roll with it. But it looks like it's getting started, y'all.
No, we'll actually, when you freeze, we'll freeze with you.
Oh God. Well, I don't know what I missed, but we're about to talk about Nikki, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna lead into that. Brittany was just talking about how there's not good care for veterans, and or not how it should be. And I mean, this episode for me was,
and we saw this play out in our own family, y'all. We had an uncle that, I mean, it's just so real, y'all. Anyway, I cut you off, bro.
It was an episode that I understand why they were doing it, and I understand, and I still think the story was well written. But honestly, I mean, it's not much to talk about. It's not much to talk about. As far as, it wasn't the normal, a whole bunch of twists and turns like it usually happens. And I felt like it was more, I felt like I knew what it was trying to do, but it just didn't hit me that way. I don't know if, like at the end, how This Is Us has those moments where it's like, they know, what they're trying to do, but it just doesn't even matter, because it was like, when he was like, and you guys are my moon, I was like, like, okay, all right. But that was just me. I mean, I was curious to hear.
Oh no, I was bored out of my mind, and I didn't pay attention to the majority of the episode. So I was watching it like,
well, no, I watched the whole thing,
I surveyed the episode.
What does Rachel say, sis? Do you have the comments? I'm wondering, what did other people feel? People engaged?
Kenton Sue said, looking at Jania's background makes me want to go to a bookstore and buy some books. Thank you.
That's my friend Kenton.
She needs help. Okay. She needs help.
I just had some more
And she
bookshelves delivered
keeps
because I have
buying
more
them.
books I need to get onto the wall.
You guys, there's nowhere to put it. There's nowhere to
I
put it.
just have more delivered.
It's nowhere. Yeah,
I
it's
do.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I love them. Y'all don't understand.
Let me
A note
say,
from Kenton is a hug in my ear. I'm happy to see you, Kenton.
It was a hug for me too.
Yeah.
I'll say that the one moment connected with me when he had to throw away when he broke his snow globes that he made. That was a good moment because first of all, like everybody has that feeling when you're going through security, like this is just so ridiculous. Like everything we're doing, like everything we're doing right now, when they're having somebody pour out a Dasani, you're like, wow, like I feel so much safer now that you've eliminated that huge Dasani threat.
Right. I mean,
how would we ever?
I saw that person hydrating and I said to myself,
man, they're gonna maybe have to go to the bathroom or something. I don't know. I'm glad you guys saved this.
Nope, I'm the one in the line like I'm in line like pour it out. Pour it out. You knew you shouldn't even have tried to get it through. Pour it out.
Oh, we forgot we have the rule follower on this podcast.
I was about to say, oh, you're kidding? You're a little high strung? Wow. I can't even imagine.
Listen,
I can't imagine you being
the rules are clearly published. That's all I'm saying.
But
they're for our safety, as most rules are.
It depends on where I'm going. Like if I'm just going somewhere and it's really quick, I pack everything into, my carry-on and roll everything up. But if I'm going somewhere and it's going under the plane, I make sure I don't have anything on me but my purse. My purse, nothing else. Because I'm like, y'all, I strategically plan my outfit to be able to get naked quickly at the airport. Like it's so strategic. But like when that thing, the way she didn't even try take that wrapping paper.
The way
off.
She ripped the paper off.
Just like, is this
was so
real?
callous.
It was so
and you know
rude.
what? I'm not going to say that every TSA person would have handled it like that, but
I don't think they would.
But it was believable that it would have happened that way.
It absolutely was.
That moment connected just in the sense of, seeing him try, and she wasn't even trying to be helpful. It's like you see this old man, this is obviously important to him. At least, so that part actually was ramping me up. Like, wow, this is probably going to be a real interesting episode.
Well, bro, I gotta tell you, I am surprised at the experience that both of you had.
Well, I'm not saying it was bad. It was just.
I will tell you what I think that I'm always happy because normally we're watching 3 or 5 different storylines play out in an episode, and we're hopping back and forth in time for more than one person. Sometimes it's a set of people.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is a level of complexity that we're used to and that we expect from the show. But I appreciated the opportunity to go deep on a solitary character today, because I felt like, to show Nikki before war, right after war, and then decades later still referring to himself as life post Vietnam, I just thought, my God, this is the way we needed this arc to play out. If they had stretched it out over a couple of different episodes, it might not have hit me as hard. We got to see Nikki, what we saw. And listen, I think that there are people cut out for things, and there are people that are not cut out for things.
Hello.
And Nikki, what we saw, this was a gentle guy. This was a gentle homebody guy. almost grown and nervous to ask a girl on a date. I mean, this is like an introvert. If there was anyone who could have been interviewed by the Army for 3 to 5 minutes and disqualified based on personality, is that guy, right? And so it just goes to show that he was just never equipped. There was nothing in him that would have enabled him to be successful in that environment. There was just wasn't there. And so he was not set up for success in that experience. And we saw him coming back, and he hadn't recovered. And so even now, decades after he's been back, he is still so far in the dysfunction that it was a gargantuan task to buy gifts, wrap them up. Well, in this case, he built the gifts. He built the gifts,
which is even
the level of care. And then he wraps them up. He gets vaccinated. He goes through a whole entire production. And so anyway, bro, I thought the episode was good. I appreciated the deep dive because I just thought we started to feel just a little bit of the weight he was carrying, and I also thought another wonderful thing we got to take away from this episode is when he started to see positive progress was when he came out of isolation. And I think that is one of the messages, one of the takeaways. It's because he had a friend. He had someone to rely on. That's what enabled him to get across the country, and then even to just be able to stay there and cope. So
I had forgotten.
I thought it was good.
Her. I had forgotten all about her. I was happy to see her character.
Yeah,
I was. So
like I said, and I don't want to come across like I thought the episode was bad. I mean, it held my attention all the time.
Your tone sent us that message. I'm not gonna lie.
It did not.
Yes, it did.
It did not.
And then sis, you go, I was bored the whole time.
Well,
both of you were like, strike one.
That's the truth. I was bored.
Well, like I said,
but Aubrey didn't say that.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I just didn't say that. What I'm saying is I'm not saying it was a bad episode. I'm just saying it didn't like, and I think you kind of pointed it out. Like you get used to a certain pacing, and it just didn't have that. And you're also, and the landing just didn't feel as stuck as it usually feels for me. I could see that. Like this is us, and I'm not even complaining because they do it like 99 times out of 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But every time you just get that feeling like, bam, they just, whoa, they just got
me.
That is why I believe that Madison's mom is his long lost ex-girlfriend.
You had to add some drama.
I know that's what's happening.
This is another favorite part of my podcast.
I love
called it Brittany's predictions. So Janaya's selections for symbols and Brittany's
just you wait and Reagan's just you wait. It's going to happen. She looked a little like Madison.
But y'all, the heartbreak. I mean, listen, to think about for what, 60 years wondering what would have happened if I had met her at the van. Think about that. Think about 60 years of that. And then think about like what he did instead. Y'all, that's heartbreak.
He been in the middle of the trees in a trailer.
Just thinking in stock.
Should have been at Woodstock.
Yeah, that was
sad.
That was sad.
So
and
sad.
that was just one of those moments. That was a fork in the road moment. And I thought that they were going to go in the direction of his draft, which that really wasn't what it was. It was just he just couldn't go.
Mm-mm.
And the funny thing is if he would have went, he probably wouldn't even knew he got drafted. You know, he'd have been off in some random
in the middle of nowhere
part of the world, and it just been living on. But I to be with a woman like that, I don't know if he was equipped for that either, because like she is a free spirit rolling, just, you know,
that spirit was free, all right.
Real free. And and honestly, the thing I might be going a little far, but this is what I was thinking, is that she is the type that let's say he would have went with her. I can also see her saying, well, you know, I've moved on, and just he wake up and she's just gone. You know what I mean? Which I don't know what kind of road that would have sent him spiraling down, you know. So I don't know. It's just one of those things that would have been interesting. They could have been in love forever, or it could have made things worse. You know what I mean?
It's also possible that a little bit of time in the company of a risk taker could have been the modeling he needed.
I wonder.
You know, sometimes couples thrive when they are extremes, you know, and I think about the fact that she was attracted to him in all of his introvert times 25, and she didn't mind. And I just think like that was what made them. It's like Dharma and Greg. Did y'all ever watch that show?
Yes,
that was a good show. But it's like an opposites attract thing, you know? So I just thought, you know, and actually I thought about this during the episode as a question for the two of you, just about, you know, risk taking. And, you know, do you consider yourselves risk takers? Do you feel like you take risks? Do you leap at these kinds of opportunities?
Oh, well, I mean, I think I definitely am. Well, not to that extent, but I would. I mean, I intentionally have set up my life so that I can move and shake how I want to, and that's purposely, and so would I, you know, move across the country? I know I would, but it would have to be for something much. It wouldn't just be random, you know. Like I couldn't just, oh, you know, I'm going to go live on this farm. It couldn't be that, because my family's on the East Coast, and I know no matter what, you know, especially with Dad being gone, that I am no more than 12 hours away from my family, period. If I need to be, I'm 12 hours away. And for me to leave that, so I feel like on the scale of risk taker, I'm way further than most people, but not as far as I'm going to drive across the country tonight. You know?
No.
What about you, sis?
In terms of a risk taker, my risk is no, I'm not. My risk is like calculated. It's like, what are the pros and cons of this decision that I'm about to make?
Sure.
While I don't mind spontaneity, I am not driving across the country to live, and I don't know where I'm about to live. I haven't seen pictures of it. That farmhouse could have been dirty. It could have been stank with a bunch of bugs. And you talk about me driving across country with all these pictures dangling from the ceiling. Listen here.
You wouldn't have been a good hippie.
This is out. Would have been a terrible hippie. It would have been like, peace and love. Here's some hand sanitizer, you guys. What's happening?
But I'll tell you one thing.
And they'd have been like, that's not a thing yet.
I am a very extreme person, though. in my life, which has been a benefit and a curse. But if I decided to be a hippie, I would have been a hippie all the way.
The hippiest,
like,
right?
Yeah, I would have.
Lean in.
I would have been. So if I would have been in that lifestyle, I would have been the one to,
go all in.
Wherever. Yeah. So
I think I used to be a person that was. I think that it would have been hard to qualify anything as a risk because I was always calculating every possible path. And
I know you're not about to say that you're a risk taker on any level.
I really thank you, bro, for allowing me to be the messenger about my journey and my experience. And I want to just celebrate your support of me in telling my story. What I was going to say was that I would be in such a constant state of calculating out every possible path that it almost made decisions too high stakes. And so now I feel like, and I had one big decision point that I think shook me out of that. And it was getting a divorce. When I got a divorce, I mean, it was the opposite of the path that we had been on. I mean, our parents made it super clear what the path was. And actually, Aubrey didn't have this experience, but me and my sister, me and Brittany, like we literally had a list that was given to us that we had to like almost chant. And it was like, it took you all the way from your undergraduate degree to your children, with a stop at purchasing a home and graduate school. And it was a list. And I was checking them off. Look, I was killing that list, and so to deviate was a huge change. But since then, and then right after that, I moved across the country. I had been living in the Washington, D.C. area for a really long time. I moved across the country to Minneapolis with nothing but what could fit in my car. And didn't know, to your point, Britt, I didn't know what my accommodations were really going to look like. And it was just a whole couple of years where I was just like taking a ton or just not allowing my decision. And I could call it taking risks, but I could also just call it not allowing my decisions to be so heavy and be so serious. So even now, I don't care what you say, bro. I think you're definitely a person.
You are. I was just.
Yeah, I'm definitely a person that's like. No, I appreciate that because I do try to interrupt you and disparage you as much as possible. I totally get that. I just feel like where I am right now is like I so believe in two things. Number one, my personal resilience. I'm going to be all right. Mm-hmm. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to bounce back. I'm strong. And the second thing is my support system. My very worst case scenario, like my bottom out, is on Aubrey's couch, Brittany's couch, or like the couch of many friends. I have at least probably 4 or 5 friends that I know I could just show up there naked and they'd be like, "Oh, girl, come on in." Mm-hmm. And it's like...
I was when you asked the question, I was thinking about when you moved to Minnesota.
Totally. And that was hard. That was hard. But I just I had a conversation with our dad and I didn't know what to do. And he was just like, Janiyah, he said, you've never been a person that he said, when you were a baby, you didn't really crawl. He said, you just got up and walked. And he said, you just got to walk. And I think about that all the time. You just got to walk. So, I just can't imagine being on the extreme opposite of that, afraid to leave home and then find yourself in Vietnam.
Yeah. And just see how all of them, none of them really ever came back, man.
Not one.
And even the ones who were managing okay, it was just a facade. It's like they just found a way to kind of
totally
to cope.
To cope. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. The
coping.
Yeah, they're just coping like, all right, well,
like forever.
And I'm sure they probably wrote in the story about him lying about his brother and everything, but it was just so plausible the way they, wrote that out, because you can see it happening.
Absolutely.
You can see it happening. Like, I'm just trying to just section off this whole. Wow. I can't even imagine.
And that guy said it in the bar, who gave advice to Jack. He was like, just put it away, compartmentalize it. He was like, just compartmentalize it, essentially. And I had a reaction to that. I was like, that can't be healthy. But then it's like, what's the other option? Deal with it all the time? Integrate it integrate the pain into who you are?
What do you do?
What in the world?
Yeah. So, but like I said, overall, I don't think, when we're discussing This Is Us, it's like levels of good episode to me, anyway. Yes. It's more because
they set the bar so high. That's the thing.
So I don't ever feel like it's like I'm just expecting my mind to be blown every time, which is not even a reasonable expectation.
It's not a realistic expectation.
And I still will until the season ends. I'll be
until it's all over.
But bro, isn't this the second episode in a row where you were like,
no, the last episode, it wasn't that. It was that it was just difficult for me to watch.
I remember now.
So it wasn't that. It wasn't the same feeling that I'm feeling now. You know what I mean? It was just.
And I haven't even finished that episode. You guys, podcast land, you need to know that the youngest right now is disheveled. Okay? That is the best way to say what is happening with me this evening. I was distracted this evening. I could barely pay attention to Uncle Nicky going across the country, washing dogs, dropping globes.
Did you see the part? Did you see the part where the plane was about to go down and he had to take over as the pilot?
That did not happen.
You missed that.
That did not happen.
That was the whole point.
That was it. We were saving that for the end.
That didn't happen.
And Brittany, he had to do a loop-de-loop, and he flew the plane upside down, just like that movie Flight.
First of all, no, it didn't. And I thought it was so funny, like, he built these snow globes, and they were like, so special.
Oh my God.
But then he had to end up getting these babies some John Grisham books. And I was like, this is so perfect for his character. Because it's like, Uncle Nicky, what are they about to do with these? And even if they read it to him, they're what?
They're gonna love those books.
They're gonna love those books.
Okay.
I just appreciated his. And even him just talking about it, he played that character perfect when he was talking about his vaccinations.
Oh yeah, that part was good. All of that was good. All that was good. You know what? Honestly,
he said, I got 2 shots.
I think that because that's exactly how old people talk about
exactly.
And the thing is that I think I've retroactively let my eye roll moment kind of impact some of the other things, because that part was good.
Right.
And I'm also say that I like how they subverted my expectation, or I didn't know what to expect in terms of how they were going to handle it. And I didn't know how Nicky, if he was going to be inappropriate or what, but he handled it great. So and I also thought the episode was going to be all about that, how he was in the house, and it wasn't about that at all.
Yeah.
So all that was good. So
Can I
even him walking into the baby's room and telling the babies as well. When he told the babies that he had 2 shots.
Just so y'all know, we're done.
We're at time.
Okay.
I just we can't end without naming how Kevin makes everything awkward. He just annoyed me so much. I just was like, Kevin, back off.
Loves Kevin so much.
Well,
I was just like, back off, cool your jets.
the thing about
Relax. Why is he always
boy,
just doing
crazy
stuff?
boy.
because
Yeah, it's like
Kevin has grown up in a
Problem.
reality that people can't comprehend. You know, it's just like his whole life, he's just, you know, had people interacting with him based on how he looks and who he is. And I mean, he's just having to do a lot of growth later on in life, man. That's all I, you know.
well,
I
let him
get it,
figure
man.
this out. Let him figure it out.
I
Then.
hope he figures it out.
He's very
says some
his
stuff, man.
character is
Man, he says
very
some stuff like,
his
wow,
character is
Kevin.
very nervous acting. He's
Yeah, he's
very
just
nervous
so-
I mean, I
acting.
just-
Because he's
I don't-
just
I
so
don't-
artificial. It's like
well,
he doesn't even know
that's
what
what
to
it
do.
is. He's just a very shallow person, but he
So
is trying.
shallow.
He is trying. He is trying.
He
But he
is.
can't pick up on social cues.
He cannot.
He's just never had to do that. You know, it's just never, it's like an atrophied muscle. He just
Yep.
never had to do that. So like just having to recognize that this is your uncle's about to have a breakdown, man. Just calm down. Like you're talking about dog parks and nicknames. Dude, just calm down. Let him have a breather.
Yeah.
Get some tea or something.
But
It's
you
just
know
something.
what's but you know what's so funny though is that Uncle Nicky knows that about him. And that because that's who he's been since he's met him.
You
But
right.
Uncle
You
Nicky has
right.
also been the one to say, no, I'm not doing all that.
You're right.
So he might be
And him
good
to
for
be
him.
like, I'm doing too much.
It might-
Okay. You know,
Because
Well-
Nikki will give it to him raw. So maybe it'll
Exactly.
be good that Nikki's like,
I will
he'll be
say,
the one to be
bro.
like, Kevin, calm down.
I will
All
say,
right.
bro, I do think we can really expect some excitement because here's what we have in that house right now. We have 2 alcoholics, one of which is also a war veteran, severely dealing with trauma related to that.
2 newborn babies.
We have a brother he's in mourning. We have a son who is still in mourning. And we have a new mother, and we have 2 newborns.
Who has an eating disorder?
The mother's eating disorder, 2
It's gonna
newborns,
be-
and a nanny. That's
Yeah.
that's what we got.
All right. Well,
we haven't seen the nanny. Did they show the nanny?
They referenced
we
her
know
in
she's
the
there.
last
We know
episode.
she's there.
Okay. All right.
She's present.
Yeah, she's
And-
there.
And did just the difference, like this life that Madison is having, it's privileged. She has a nanny. Like this,
It's gonna be
is
It's gonna
that
be
is it.
interesting.
That's a situation. Like everybody
what-
else don't have that, you know. So
Yeah.
But we probably won't even see them next episode. So.
basically, Madison, you got pregnant by the right one, girl.
Well, that
Somebody
is
had to
yet
say
to
it.
be seen.
Well, that's
All
the
right,
right
well,
perspective
That's the right perspective.
on tonight's episode of This Is Us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
And
joining.
look forward to, if you haven't checked it out already, our last podcast was on Silence of the Lambs, y'all. It's everywhere where podcasts stream, and you can also get it at rightperspectivepodcast.com.
Two quick questions, Janaya.
Uh-huh.
Have you had any nightmares?
I haven't.
Okay, and have you been working on your homework assignment that me and Brittany gave you?
I already finished it for your
Okay, all right.
information.
I can't wait to hear it. All right.
And those who watch who listen or watch our podcast know that I was given a challenge that I accepted, and I'm ready to smash it.
Janaya doesn't back down from a challenge.
Oh, no. Oh no!
She does not. All right, everybody have a great night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.